We all know what fear feels like, right? It's a primal thing. But the things that really get under our skin, well, those have changed. A lot. The giant monstrous beasts from our planet's past, they've been replaced by something quieter, something much closer to home, and honestly, something way more terrifying. So what exactly is the anatomy of modern horror? Let's get into it.
To really get what scares us today, we kinda have to go back in time, way back. See, for millions of years, the Earth was basically a real-life monster movie. It was ruled by creatures that were the stuff of actual nightmares, bigger, meaner, and more powerful than anything we can imagine today.
And I mean, the size of these things is it's hard to wrap your head around. You've got the Megalodon, a shark that weighed 100 tons and could swallow a great white in one bite. The Titanoboa, a snake so huge it can literally crush a car. Then there's the Quetzalcoatlus, a flying predator the size of a giraffe with wings like a small plane. And if that's not enough, how about the Arthroplura, a millipede as long as a car? These things were the top of the food chain, the absolute ultimate monsters. And thank goodness for us, they are very, very extinct.
But here's a thought. What if the monsters never really left? What if they just evolved? The biggest threats we face now aren't hiding in the fossil record. They walk among us. They look just like us. And they've learned to hunt us not with claws and teeth, but by getting inside our heads and twisting our deepest fears against us.
So this brings us to the first big rule of modern horror, the violation of sanctuary. This is all about that bone-chilling idea that the one place you're supposed to be totally safe, your home, your school, your car, is exactly where the danger is coming from.
You know, what's so effective about these modern stories is that you don't need a creepy old castle or a dark ancient forest. All you need is a totally normal setting. A school hallway, a suburban house, a generic hotel room. The real power here comes from taking that feeling of safety we all rely on and just completely shattering it.
And you see this pattern again and again. In a school, it's a man at the classroom door, and the core fear is total helplessness. In a home, it's the sound of an intruder's footsteps, and that fear is violation. In a hotel room, finding a stranger in your closet, that's the ultimate invasion. The threat is always at its worst when it gets inside the places we thought were our sanctuaries.
This quote it nails it, doesn't it? That single, awful moment of realization. That the sound isn't the wind outside, it's not the house settling, it's somebody inside. That's the exact second your sanctuary stops being safe, it's pure terror.
And that feeling, that violation, leads directly into our second major theme, the danger of isolation. Because once your safe space has been breached, being alone suddenly goes from something peaceful to something incredibly dangerous.
Okay, look at these two stories. Both are about truckers, totally alone on the road at night. One of them finds an empty car, hazards flashing, passenger door just hanging open in the middle of a dark desert road. Another one finds children's clothes just scattered on a remote highway. Both of these are traps. They're lures designed to prey on a lone person's curiosity or even their desire to help and turn them into a target.
There's actually a psychological term for what happens to your brain in these situations. It's called hypervigilance. When you're all alone and feel vulnerable, your brain basically kicks into overdrive. Every tiny sound, every flicker of a shadow, it all feels like a massive threat. You're basically primed to be terrified.
And as this trucker says, you just can't predict the psychological toll that kind of isolation takes. The loneliness itself starts to feel like a monster, just eating away at you, making you second-guess everything you see in the dark.
And this is where it all comes together, right? Your sanctuary is gone, you're completely alone, and that leads to our third theme, which honestly might be the most deeply unsettling of all. That constant creeping dread that you are being watched.
Just try to imagine this for a second. For years, you hear sounds outside your bedroom window at night, shuffling, breathing. You catch a glimpse of a human shape in the reflection of a mirror. But every single time you tell someone, they dismiss you. They say it's just your imagination. The horror here isn't just about being watched, it's the absolute terror of not being believed.
So look at how this plays out over time. This isn't a quick jump scare. It's a slow, agonizing burn. It's a kind of psychological torture that builds and builds for years, chipping away at the victim's sense of safety and even making them doubt their own sanity, right up until that horrifying moment when they're finally proven right.
4. That's the number. That's how many years this person lived with this terror, being watched, before somebody else finally saw the man standing outside their window.
4 years of being told it was all in their head.
And the fear just gets dialed up to 11 when the watcher starts to show you that they know things. In another story, a stalker at a gas station knew the night clerk's name without ever being told. He knew her routine so well that he commented on the exact time she locked a specific back door every night. It's that kind of impossible knowledge that turns the fear of being watched into the absolute terror of being known.
Okay, so let's pull all of this together. Why do these stories stick with us so much? Why do they haunt us? Well, it turns out there's a pretty specific recipe for this kind of modern fear.
First, it all starts with relatability. These things happen in boring, everyday places. A house, a car, a job. It makes you think, that could be me. Second, the monster isn't some creature from another dimension. It's a person, someone who looks totally normal, someone you'd never look at twice. And finally, the stories almost never tell you why. That terrifying question mark is left hanging, and our own imaginations rush in to fill the void with our worst fears.
Because in the end, the true monster in these stories isn't the person lurking in the shadows. It's that sudden, gut punch of a realization that all the routines and places we count on to keep us safe are paper thin. The ultimate horror is finding out that your sense of control over your own life is, and maybe always was, just an illusion.
The prehistoric beasts are gone. The new monsters are already here. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Tonight, when you're home and you hear a strange noise, are you going to assume it's just the house settling? Or are you going to wonder if someone else is inside?